Hello, everybody. Delighted that you could join us today. I can see we've got a lot of people about to join us. Looking forward very much to this webinar today. I am very pleased to introduce Mahiar Borhanjoo, the CEO of Uni Diamonds, diamonds company, very much involved in supplies of polished diamonds to wholesalers, manufacturers, and retailers. And we're going to have a far-reaching discussion about the future of polished diamonds trading. And also we're going to talk about the situation today during the pandemic. So I think it'll be very interesting. And we're also going to encourage questions from the audience, which we may be able to take right in the midst of our discussion. So welcome, Mahiar.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you, and hello to everyone here. I hope everyone is keeping safe and keeping healthy.
Absolutely. So first off, we're going to show Uni Diamonds corporate video just to give you an understanding of the company. So here is the video. Great. Well, thank you very much indeed for that video from Uni Diamonds. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm delighted to be joined by Mahiar Borhanjoo, who is the CEO of Uni Diamonds. Mahiar previously was an executive director of De Beers Group and managed rough diamond sales for the group, and subsequently was managing director of Venus Jewel, a Surat-based diamond manufacturer. So very cognizant of the world of diamonds and very well known in the global diamond industry. So very happy to have you with us, Mahiar.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. And thank you for giving me this opportunity, to you and the Jewellery Outlook team.
Great. So let's get straight into the chat. Let's talk about the situation of polished diamonds trading today in the midst of the pandemic. I mean, how is the pandemic affecting the flow of polished diamonds trade around the world, Mahiar?
Just before that, if I may just hope everyone is keeping safe, especially our friends and partners in India and the rest of the world. I think we've gone through a year and a half of absolute shock. And a lot of industries who have gone through a similar type of shock are in a completely different place than we are as an industry. And I think that has a lot to do with the product that we work with. You know, it's the symbol of diamonds. What diamonds represent is love and relationships. And, you know, in challenging and difficult times as we are seeing today, that relationship is reciprocated between two people using a diamond. And I think it's shown the strength and durability of the product that we work with, and how blessed we are to be working with this product. You know, last year when the world started going into a lockdown, I think on the manufacturing side and mining side, everything kind of freezed and paused. But retailers were continuing to sell diamonds, and in fact, wholesalers regionally were able to sell diamonds. And in a very short amount of time, people realized, you know, there needs to be a shift and a transition in the business for the business to continue to be successful. Today, it might take about 7 to 10 days to get a diamond, at times a little bit longer, from India to various parts around the world. But, you know, US entities can actually ship goods within 24 hours into American-based retailers. So a mentality shift had occurred where, you know, prior to COVID, we had a flat world where people could get things from Antwerp, from Israel, from Hong Kong, from India within 24 hours into their retail stores, and sometimes maximum 72 hours. And where we saw that the transition or the shift happen is kind of similar to what Zara uses as their model of working, which is utilizing the local providers around you to be able to get a just-in-time service. And I think a lot of the retail business and a lot of the business actually became localized. France and Switzerland went to Antwerp. You had the United States focusing a lot on the business in New York, as well as the business in Los Angeles. So it became much more of a localized business, and it flourished in a positive way, I think, for our partners who are wholesalers and or manufacturers in those regions and countries. So the business didn't stop, the business transformed itself. And I think that's a phenomenal thing to be able to see. If you look at year over year, you know, we had polished sales actually the latter part of the year, from summertime through December last year. Polished sales on the retail side were exceptionally fantastic. And I think the fact that the mining companies, because of the challenges and everything else that they had, weren't able to produce as much rough, and it kind of helped transform this industry into a much better place than it's been in quite some time, because the overhang of polish that there was within the industry has been able to be minimized, which then in turn allows polish to actually have a better and healthier sales downstream. So
can you tell us a little bit about the flow of business in India? I mean, clearly India, the epicenter, if you like, of diamond manufacturing, has been really badly hit by a second wave of COVID. How is this impacting upon the flow of manufacturing and exports from India in this period right now?
Yeah, and again, my thoughts are with our Indian colleagues and partners in every possible way. I think one of the things that I always say about the Indian community overall is the passion and the focus and drive that they have, and how quickly they can actually transition and make things work. When the government completely shut down work in Mumbai, granted, because Maharashtra was growing in COVID numbers more than anywhere else in the world, and it still is, the Bharat Diamond Bourse, as well as Gem and Jewelry Council, were able to really readdress this with government, because this is an important part of the Maharashtra business and community. And Surat had continued to still polish and be able to buy rough and import rough and polish diamonds, and therefore there needs to be a sales outlet. So some transferred some of their polish to other parts of the world, whether there are other offices around the world. Some decided that they're going to move their goods to Surat to be able to allow things to happen. But again, BDB was phenomenal in reacting to this, and my hat off to the executives of Bharat Diamond Bourse, because they were really able to actually convince the government with the right safety measures that things can be done properly. So there's COVID tests that are being done. People that are going in are being validated and verified to make sure they're healthy and they're safe, for the safety of everyone who's there, and also the safety of people who are going into Bharat Diamond Bourse. And thank goodness that the exports are still happening within India. It's taking a little bit longer. It's taking about 7 days for diamonds to get to customers. But that's still a phenomenal place to be during such challenging and difficult times. You know,
what
you
about
and I are sitting.
Mahir, what about the activities of the labs, grading, testing by labs? How is that impacted in India at the moment?
They're taking a similar type of precautionary measures and social distancing, as far as I'm aware, and as far as I've been told, um, um, multiple shifts, etc. The key with our industry and the innovation in our industry is, if the business is there, they will find a safe route to be able to help make sure things happen. And safety, I think, is such a critical part of what we do as an industry. And again, I can't say more about how responsible our industry has been in making these things happen.
Yeah. Okay, so what can you tell us about the price trends in polished diamonds in this period? And are certain, if you like, cuts or shapes or sizes of polished diamonds doing better than others, and why?
Well, if anyone has any ovals, please give me a call. But if if not, it's kind of actually quite interesting, because that is something that we look at on a regular basis, and we measure for our customers and our partners. And what we've noticed is there certainly has not been as a drastic price drop, or at least last year there wasn't, as the market was forced to have, unfortunately. However, utilizing the price guidance report that we've put out, which is a natural diamond price guide, as well as the trajectory and information that we have based on the inventory and data and information that we gather from the industry and the market, prices have actually, during the difficult times, stayed fairly steady. And there were some areas of decrease, but then you saw things like D flawlesses, which hadn't had as much oxygen as perhaps they did before. Prices started healthily growing in there. So what does that tell you? It tells you that there is a demand in the better quality and much more luxurious products that are out there. You talk about pinks, blues, red diamonds. The values of those, and because of what's happening with Rio Tinto, are growing more and more and more, because Rio Tinto is closing their Australian mine. So you're seeing the demand for the really high end as very strong and positive, but also in the mid-tier, in the commercial goods that are being sold, they're not only being sold in the US anymore, they're being sold in US, in China, in Europe, and the demand has grown drastically for those types of goods. And when you see that demand growing in that area, it's helpful, on the 1 carat and above on ovals, as I mentioned. Phenomenal area, and not enough availability. If you look at rounds and you look at prices of SIVS goods, phenomenal and strong. So it shows that we as an industry are in a healthier position today than we were before the COVID times had actually come about. So with every challenge, we'll always find an opportunity, right?
Yeah. So Mahiar, could you tell us a little bit about Unidiamond's price guide feature, how you gather price data, and how you can be sure it's transparent and accurate data for the industry?
Actually, can I show you a few things?
Yep.
Maybe that will help kind of explain what we do. First of all, we work with roughly about $2 billion of inventory with more than 130 partners around the world. And we're receiving real-time data. And this is something that I'm quite proud of. We don't look at data that's historic. We don't look at data that's old. We'll use that for old history and information. But when you look at real-time data and you see how companies are doing, you can really see trends. You can really see information about how polish prices are moving, which areas of goods, for example, are really hot and really people can do well with, and which areas are things not so hot and challenged. So you can really be able to develop a database that's very effective and winning. The way that we look at our data, we actually take the data and information that we have, and we look at it based on balances of information. This is another way of looking at it snapshot of data and information that we have for our retail, for our, sorry, manufacturing partners. You know, as I was in Venus, one of the things that I love about this product is in one snapshot, I can see every single product that I have and where the prices are and how the prices are moving. So if you take this information and look at it and say, okay, how do I, as a partner to these manufacturers, make sure that my data is correct? Well, first of all, we have more than 130 manufacturers in all major cutting centers, from the United States to Europe to Middle East, down to Hong Kong and obviously India. The data is provided from a variety of locations, and we run control charts. We have ways of looking at what we call mystery shoppers that help us actually understand and validate if the prices that we're receiving are the correct prices or not. We're looking at bottom line prices when we look at our data. What is the least amount of price that someone is willing to take when they're purchasing a diamond? And based off of that, we develop our analytics and information, which we then share with the industry. The Uni calculator, as a prime example, you can download that and use it, no charge. But at any given time, any retailer or anyone who wants to know what a price of a diamond is, you know, I just got a message from someone asking me, what's the price of a 1.3 carat oval? I kind of smiled because I asked for an oval. So I'll respond to them after this call. But that's what the calculator's for.
Yeah. We've got some questions coming in. I just want to say to everybody, we'd be delighted to have your questions during the session. We will do a Q&A at the end, but we are quite happy to take questions during the session too, just to make it more interactive. So please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box, not the chat box, the Q&A box. Mahiar, we have a question from Nidhi Gupta, who would like you to give your view a little bit about how you differentiate pricing between, say, pink and red diamonds.
Oh gosh. So look, it's quite fascinating when you talk about red diamonds versus and let's pick the highest pink, vivid pink. So first of all, both extremely rare products. But historically, since this inception of mining, if you think about red diamonds, there were no more than 70, I would probably say less than 100 plus 1 carat diamonds ever polished in the world. So in the more than 100 and some odd years of our diamond industry, and if you look at thousands of years with India and mining that used to happen in India, 70 diamonds that are red, more than between 70 to 100 diamonds that are red. So that in itself makes the rarity of that product so high. It's like a piece of art, really, but the art was created by God, not by a human being. And secondarily, if you look at pinks, I think the value of pinks from pink to vivid have increased and will continue to increase purely because of the fact that 80 to 85% of the world's production of pink has ceased to mine. So
in the Argyle mine in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. So you're pretty much now in a place where anything pink, anything close to red, purplish pink, whatever colors that they may be, they're going to become very sought after by collectors. And that's where I think, you know, you started seeing during COVID time, people were looking at ways of being able to keep their funds in a different way than normal. And if you look at the increasing prices of these types of goods, they've year over year have increased in every auction that there's ever been out there. So I encourage people who have the capability to be able to keep their money in these areas to do so, because it is a phenomenal investment and a phenomenal place to be.
Yeah, and we've certainly seen very high prices for pink diamonds and purplish pink diamonds at auctions of magnificent jewels over the last year, such as the Christie's and Sotheby's Geneva auctions a few months ago. Quick question on a related theme, Mahiar, from Vahid Hadnejad in Iran, thank you very much, Vahid, for asking us this question. Vahid is saying, with many diamond factories closed or semi-active due to the pandemic, how would this sharp drop in supply of manufactured diamonds affect the price of diamonds? Mahiar, when you answer that, could you again speak to the situation in India right now and how the factories are affected in India currently?
So, you know, Vahid, thank you very much for your question. خوشبختم امیدوارم حالتون خوب باشه. I just had to say hello in Farsi.
Farsi.
Just it doesn't happen often, so it's nice to hear a brethren actually speak. In India, again, one of the things that we noticed, which was great, was that the Indian community got together, understood how to be able to sterilize, clean their facilities, how to be able to create social distancing. Some manufacturing partners are running 2 shifts, some are running 3 shifts. So it allows them to be able to continue to do business at a lower level, true, but it matches the demand level that there is out there in the market. And you know, some of the manufacturers are doing 3 shifts because their demand is there. So I think they've found creative ways of being able to ensure that what they're doing and how they're polishing diamonds is meeting the needs and requirements of the businesses that are out there. We have seen some areas that there's limited availability. If you look at what we call the Rarity Index of diamonds, which is a patented uni product, sorry, trademarked, apologies. And it shows basically the availability of diamonds and how it actually moves up and the prices and how the volume moves down. What you then can appreciate is there are areas of price increase due to the fact that there isn't enough availability. So that has to do with mining and you know what comes out of the ground more so than anything else. But I think the innovation of the manufacturers in Surat being able to be flexible and create flexibility, not just for the industry, but also for their employees, because keep in mind, the employees in the Indian community count on what they are getting paid for, and the survival of them and their families rely on this. So it's heartwarming to see the major manufacturers not closing down, not shutting down, but creating ways to be able to help support their communities. And that's a great thing to see.
You've made a few references to delays in shipments, but if you could just elaborate further down the supply chain, what impact are you seeing tangibly in terms of any delays in shipments, and also how is inventory management changing?
Yeah, are you talking about on the rough side or on the polish side? Apologies, because downstream to me would mean polish. And okay, so I just wanted to make sure we're talking the same thing. So inventory management on the polish side, as I mentioned, I think a lot of the manufacturers are seeing that the movements and transition of diamonds into areas where they can be sold in a just-in-time manner has worked really, really well. In fact, for a lot of the manufacturers who don't have that capability, because of our partnership with Malka Amit, who is our supplier in logistics services, we're providing some manufacturers who need it the ability to be able to put goods in various locations around the world, if not Mumbai, because at the end of the day today, people can't buy goods in Mumbai, but they can buy it in Hong Kong when it's going to Asia. They can buy it in Belgium when it's going to Europe, and in New York or Los Angeles when it's going to the United States. So we're providing logistics services, storage facilities, and capabilities. If we as Uni can help them sell the product, we're happy to do so. If we're not, they can tell Malcolm Mead where to ship the product. We want to be able to help the industry grow. The slogan for our company, the ethos behind our organization, if you look at our tagline, it says, "In diamonds we trust." And that goes a long way towards what we believe as an organization, because we want to bring trust in the fact that diamonds have a true and inherent value to them. But in addition to that, we want to be able to ensure that our partners can help, can continue to sell their products even in difficult times.
Okay, so we've got quite a few questions coming in, and I do encourage people to keep sending in the questions. I'll curate them as best I can as we go. But a very nice, very simple question from Ashwin Gelani Mahiar, who is asking, what do you think, by how much will polished prices change by the end of this year? Do you have some sort of broad projection for polished diamond price increases or decreases by the end of this year? Do you have your own price index at Uni Diamonds, you know, a conglomerate index on polished diamond prices?
We do. The Natural Polished Diamond Price Guide report actually provides that. And the way that we focus on it is not look at it as it's been done in the old traditional way, which is everyone waits, and then when there's an announcement, they have to decrease their prices by 5% more than what they had already decreased their prices before. We look at how the business is moving and how the business is trajecting forward. So as there are decreases, the decreases are shown and validated purely based on data, not because we said so, but that's what the data shows. And if it increases, that's what the data shows. And we believe that by the end of this year, and most certainly by next year, we are going to see, so by the end of this year, we're going to definitely see price stability in certain areas. We're going to see increasing prices, better quality top-end goods, mid-range goods for sure. And on the following year, as demand continues to grow and as we continue to see an improvement in the world opening up, we really do believe that diamond prices are going to actually increase by next year. And the percentage, you know, I can give you a guess, but statistically speaking, we see a slight increase through the end of this year, but a much better increase in next year's performance.
Okay, that's good. I mean, it's very hard to give any specific percentage increase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lana Kurtzi is asking, what about, if you like, lower colors and clarity polished diamonds? What price trends do you see there, you know, for goods that are aimed at the price-sensitive consumer ultimately? What's for the lower end goods, what price projections do you see?
So, I mean, based on the data and information that we have on the certified goods, we track the certified goods more than we do the uncertified at this time, but uncertified will be something that we're going to focus on in the future. We are seeing a stable environment being set in that area. There are some areas that we see a slight decrease in prices, but majority of what we've seen is kind of starting to stabilize, which is great. Again, it shows that demand and supply are consistent, and things are starting to actually sell based on what's available. So it's great balance.
Nidhi Gupta is asking, are the polished diamonds that Uni Diamonds supplies, are these all certified goods? And how do you ensure the authenticity of the goods that Uni Diamonds supplies?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? I apologize.
The diamonds on the platform supplied by Uni Diamonds, are they all certified diamonds?
Yes, that is correct. So right now we're focusing on, you know, the certified diamonds 30 points and above. All diamonds are certified by the major certification houses. We actually validate the diamonds through the certifications that we have. We have an AI platform that runs in the background to validate the certificates from the actual company who's providing the certificate to what we have on our platform to ensure that there's stability. And we were working on additional AI that will allow us to be able to logically validate the stones versus what the certificate is. And it's an interesting algorithm that we're looking at creating to be able to characterize and validate the PKs and inclusions within the stone in comparison to the photo and video of the diamond itself, to make sure that we do have matches. That's in the works, but currently we are utilizing the actual certificates and information and AI to actually validate each and every one of the diamonds. Okay. Most of our customers, I do have to say, not most, but almost all, are RJC certified or are a part of the best practice principles of De Beers. So we are working with companies that we know are legitimate, who are working very hard to making sure that the ethics and the industry is being held to the utmost highest standards.
Yeah, excellent. So just last question from Helen Dimmick before we move on to talk about your vision for the future. In the current situation, Helen Dimmick, who by the way is an NAJ, National Association of Jewelers Retail Ambassador in the UK, Helen is asking, what size and quality of goods are seeing limited availability among polished diamonds right now?
So if there's a VS2 round with an H color, it's a great product in the 1 carat range. If you're looking at ovals, 1 to 1.5 carats, 70 points to 1 carat in the mid range, mid color, it's quite needed in the industry. And when we talk about this, we're talking about, the better goods. A good car or a good cut or a fair cut is not necessarily what we're looking at. We're looking at excellent or very good products that are out there in the market. And some of the larger goods, like 10, 15, 20, 30 caraters that are out there. Today you cannot find a really nice VVS cushion cut 6 carat quality match pair. But demands are out there for those types of goods and that type of product. So it's quite interesting because it's kind of a larger holistic area. And if you're interested in something, please a report on things like this, we're happy to provide that. Just send us an email and we'll be more than happy to provide you with this information.
Okay, great. So let's get your crystal ball out, Mahiar. We're going to now start looking at the future. During the pandemic, we have seen an accelerated digital transformation in the trading of diamonds and also colored gemstones and indeed jewelry, right up to the auction, high-end magnificent jewelry auction level. Looking forward, in diamonds, in polished diamonds, where is all this headed? I mean, how will trade in polished diamonds change as we go forward, particularly given the difficulties over travel, of getting to a trade fair, meeting anybody in a bourse for the foreseeable future? What will the future look like for polished diamonds trading?
It's a great question. And when I think about this, if you look at the trade shows, I think the trade shows are a phenomenal part of the industry, but I think they too are going to become an evolving part of the industry. I can say JCK and the Hong Kong shows are looking at how to be able to virtualize some of their products and be able to do virtual shows. Vicenza in Italy, who's always the trendsetter of what the industry needs and requires, is a phenomenal place to actually be the launch of new products. And I think that's where the trade shows are going to move to and transition to. The fact that majority of the industry is online, the fact that some of the better companies and organizations are able to provide beautiful photography and videography for each of their diamonds with a very unique information and data provided on each one, is going to transition a lot of that business online. In fact, we forecast that as we go through 2022 and 2023, a lot of that business is going to move onto the internet and utilization of our systems. But the trade shows, I think, will be there. I think there potentially could be less of them because of what has happened, but they will be focused on key areas. JCK is a phenomenal show for the Americas to be able to show trends and what's happening and what's new and what's fresh. And same thing with the Hong Kong show in September, and the Vicenza show. You know, I think if I look at the Swiss watch manufacturers, they did a brilliant thing. They realized having a show in January, having a show in later on in April or March is not very effective for retailers. Retailers need to be with their business. They need to ensure that their business continues to grow and continues to flourish. They cannot possibly be away from their business 1 week here, 1 week there, then JCK, then the Arizona show, then go to the Florida show, then go to the Hong Kong show, etc. How are they going to survive? They're away from their business half of the year. So in order to do that, companies like ours came around and said, look, why don't we help you? You need diamonds in your retail space. We have the capability to be able for you not only to pick live available diamonds, but be able to transport those utilizing the largest logistics company in the diamond industry, Malcolm Meat, and their insurance and their services and support, to be able to get those diamonds to you. QC what you want, keep it, and if you don't want it, send it back, and we'll disperse it back to our partners. Providing these sorts of flexibilities for retail partners and wholesalers around the world is going to transform this industry. I really do believe it will, because it will help them focus on their business, what they need to deliver on, rather than going from one place to another, to another, to another, trying to figure out what should be the final price for a stone and where should they buy it and all this. You're spending already 4 or 5% of the price of the stone when you're traveling all over the place. Focus on your business, deliver on that. Let us manage the mid market challenges, and you focus on what you need to deliver for your customers. That I think is going to be the trend of the future.
Very interesting. So where will lab-grown diamonds fit into the future scenario? What place do they have in the industry? What is the likely future price trend that we will see in lab-grown diamonds vis-a-vis natural diamonds? What's your vision?
So it's interesting because, you know, when lab-grown came out in a big way in the industry, and that was when De Beers came up with Lightbox, a lot of people basically said that's the end of everything, and you know, we should all, you know, stop and so on and so forth. But I actually really believe it was one of the healthiest things that could have happened to our industry. And hear me out before you freak out. As a child, I had a fascination with watches, and an aspirational product that I loved was a Swatch watch. For those who are a bit of a younger generation, maybe the Casio G-Shock is what you prefer to purchase. But that led my need and desire and aspiration to grow to the finer, better products when I grew older. The Rolexes, the Audemars Piguets, the Patek Philippe's, which we all aspire to one day own, and some of our partners who are messaging do own them. But it gives us the ability to be able to have that movement and transition, right? And if you look at how pricing for natural diamonds are, when we just talked about it, you know, a pink and a red and a yellow or even white, the rarity of the product being created by Mother Earth, the odds of those particular things happening, the amount of pressure, the amount of heat and everything else underground to be able to develop a natural polish, a natural rough diamond is quite rare. It's not something that happens regularly. So to compare that to something that you can create in a technological environment where, like, for example, I bought my first LCD TV for $12,000. Today I can buy it for $600 or even less on sale. It's technology will put man-made diamonds in a place where people can use it as an aspirational product for their future to be able to buy the real thing. And in no way am I discounting how beautiful man-made diamonds are. They are separate in the way that people will behave with them as time grows, and it will actually be able to see a difference.
What are your longer term price projections for lab-grown diamonds, given that
yeah,
manufacturing supply can really ramp up?
Yeah, and as technology improves and as technology becomes even more sophisticated, I see man-made prices going down more. And natural, obviously, because of the product and availability of it, will continue to grow. So there will be a bigger gap between the two. I do see that happening more and more as technology improves and gets better and better.
Okay, so talking about digital transformation, during the pandemic in colored gemstones, we have seen a few new platforms rise quite prominently. For example, GemBridge is now a significant digital platform offering colored gemstones. So we also have a Jeweler's Circle and GemCloud. And of course, the difference between colored gemstones and diamonds is quite significant in many ways, and particularly in terms of, if you like, specifications of stones. First question for you with regard to color gems. Do you foresee a time when possibly uni diamonds might branch out also into colored gemstones? And secondly, just again with your crystal ball, what are your broad brush thoughts about the future opportunities for digital trading in colored gemstones?
So it is something that we've looked at, and certainly it is in our horizon, in our long-term plans. As an organization, we're very focused on ensuring that we build scalability and a product that works effectively in one specific area. Then look and see what our customers want. We have quite a few retailers that we've now blessedly been able to partner up with in the North Americas and various regions around the world, because of our retailer app and because of what we've been able to deliver for those retailers, real-time inventory to be able to sell downstream to consumers. And real-time inventory with stories as well, with some of the products that we provide, from the Alrosa product that we provide, and also the GIA origin product that we provide, and a few other ones that we're working on right now. But be able to say that we're going to now move to man-made, or we're going to move to a colored gem stones, it will purely depend on our customers. But I can say that the technology has certainly improved to a place where this is going to become a bigger and bigger part of the industry, for sure. And as that happens, I think there will be a much better understanding around pricing, around the data, around the information, which will be a win-win for everyone. I think it's where all of our industries need to be. In a lot of people say, you're bringing too much transparency into the industry, it could be dangerous. But think about it for 1 second. We were blessed to be able to get insurance, to be able to provide goods to our retail partners downstream. Not many companies can today. But why? Because a lot of the insurance companies, a lot of the banks, a lot of the various different organizations that are out there that are not within the diamond industry do not know what they can trust in our industry. And we need to reevaluate that as an industry. I think the fact that a lot of companies are now doing, their financial results in a very open and transparent way. I think the fact that people are moving to being able to share this information is actually a good thing for our industry because it brings investment in, it brings people to show interest. I sat in front of an insurance company and I said, we're a technology business that's focused in the diamond industry. The very first thing he said is not interested. That was his first comment. But then when we actually showed them, what are we doing? How are we bringing transparency into this industry? How is price discovery created for our industry? What are we doing on the polish side that will help actually really transform this industry to a better place? It actually opened up their eyes and they were willing to work with us. And that's why I think it's such a critical thing to ensure that that continues for our industry.
Okay, good. So I've got two more questions and then we're going to go into the formal Q&A session. So please, everybody, do submit your questions now on the Q&A and we'll get through as many of them as we can. You talked earlier, Mahiar, about trade fairs. What do you foresee as the outlook for the relationship between digital trading platforms in diamonds and colored gemstones and the trade fairs? I mean, how will that relationship evolve over time as we come through and hopefully beyond this pandemic?
I think there will be a sense of technology within all trade fairs, whether it's virtual or not, but there will be a sense of technology, and I'm hoping it will be more on a virtual basis as well. You know, there are some great shows today that are showing products virtually, but aren't able to sell products virtually. You know, companies like ours are more than happy to help bring that in, and we're trying to work with some of those organizations, again, because of our logistics capabilities, because of our partnership with Malcolm Meet. We can do a lot for events and trade shows like that. But I do foresee trade shows being a mixture of the two. So you can set up your appointments and go physically, or you can set up your appointments and have a virtual meeting. You could have the goods being in your office and you can QC the goods, or you can actually be able to physically go and see those. It depends on how critical you being with your business is going to be. And I think a lot of the businesses like retailers are starting to validate and verify, you know what, when I'm here, things happen. We're not talking about, you know, the Sterlings of the world who have, you know, store managers and regional directors and so on. We're talking about a retailer who has 7 retail stores who are doing phenomenally well. But when the owner is there, she or he can really make an impact on that organization. So in those environments, people will question, do I really need to be at a show? Do I need to be really at the show for as long as I should be? Can I make my appointments and do things differently? And I think the shows are seeing that, and they will transform themselves to meet both, the best of both worlds, I guess.
Yeah, well, we're seeing an indication of that with the recent announcement by Vicenza Oro, Italian exhibition group, and Informa Markets, that they will be collaborating for the first time on a new Dubai trade fair that will take place in February 2022. Last question from me. Big picture question really. How do you see patterns of luxury spending and shopping for diamond jewellery evolving going forward, particularly with the difficulties of travel at the moment? I mean, Chinese tourists in the past, luxury tourists would be flying into Paris and London and Berlin and buying brands across the luxury sphere, but now it's very difficult to do that. So we've had the Hainan island arise as a duty-free luxury shopping hub within China. So Chinese tourists can just fly to Hainan and shop, and that's doing really well, I understand. I mean, what big changes do you foresee on the horizon in terms of the way luxury shoppers will shop for diamond jewellery?
I think the localized process is going to become a strong factor, at least for the next few years, until people feel that they can travel again safely. Because remember, we're going through this pandemic right now. Some of us have both shots, some of us have one shot, some of us don't, unfortunately, have a shot. But that shot needs to be repeated in 6 to 8 months from now. or else we're going through the same thing again, right? So what we need to understand and appreciate is that the world around us has really changed in a lot of ways. And what we used to consider of me, this was I will tell you, one of my trips. Got onto a flight, went to sleep, woke up in Hong Kong, went to a meeting, came back, got onto a flight, came to London for one night, went to Moscow the next day, came back and went to India, came back and went to Dubai, right?
Mm.
This was 1 month for Mahiar,
Yes.
right? And if you look at where the world is today and
Yeah.
how things are, you know, the Chinese market certainly is booming and doing really well. You know, the fact that you have this place where you know there's no need for passport or validation or making sure you're well or it's within China itself that you can actually shop has really drastically helped them, because now they have a destination place that they can go to spend money and enjoy and be proud that they're supporting their own economy. And the luxury brands are thoroughly enjoying that factor, and you've seen it in the numbers and the results that they've had and shown. But again, it's no different in the United States. You know, the localized shopping is becoming much more critical and important, from the retailer buying from someone in New York to a consumer buying from the retailer that they trust. You know, and this is one of the things that we've noticed, whether it's online retailer or whether it is a retailer within a certain state or city. The trust factor of me knowing someone, or me trusting that person or that group to be able to give me what I want is such a critical thing. You know, being purely online is not going to make you successful, right? Being able to have that omni-channel capability is going to make you successful. And why do I say that? You see a lot of the online companies today that are selling to consumers that are looking at ways to be able to show the consumer what they're purchasing. A diamond ring that's worth 5,000 to 6,000 or 9,000 to 10,000 in America, and as someone who grew up in the States, you know, my first big purchase was a car when I was 16. But my individual true first purchase would have been that diamond ring, right? And for that, I can buy it online, but how do I know if it's going to fit? How do I know it's going to be right? How do I know it? You know, there's so many questions. How do I know if it really looks like they say it's going to look like? So to be able to translate that, even Blue Niles and companies like them are now providing brick and mortar experience zones.
Yeah.
So retailers have an upper hand here. If they can create the omni channels, they already have generations of trust that they can actually pull in. So they'll be able to be extremely successful. So I think this is going to continue as a trend, and it will be more regionalized rather than globalized in purchasing.
Okay, great. So moving on to the Q&A, we have a question from Marianne Dundek, who I know well, author of the book Diamonds. Marianne is asking, Mahiar, what do you see as the future of Dubai in polished diamonds trading?
Well, you know, if someone can offer me a way to be able to move to Dubai, I'll do it tomorrow. And trust me, I'm trying to figure out the right way to do it and the proper way. I think Dubai is going to be a very important part of trade, rough, polish, it doesn't matter. And the reason why I say that is the opening between Israel and the UAE. The work that UAE has done in being able to really communicate to the world that they're open for business and has really helped create a halo factor around Dubai and what it's able to accomplish. So I look forward to seeing the UAE grow and continue to flourish, because if you think about it, they're in a perfect spot, right? They're not that far away from Europe. They're perfectly close to India, and they're also close to the African countries who have the rough and ability to actually work with the UAE. So they're zoned in a very, very great spot that they can actually be able to touch quite a few areas within the world in a very few number of hours of travel. So I think it will be an important part of our trade now and in the future. Can I saw something from Stefan Fischler around fluorescence. Would you mind if I answer that question? Because it is something that actually we're looking into. So I think.
What is the question first?
Sorry. Can you share your views about how the market reacts on fluorescence, the kind that does not negatively impact the diamonds, and do you see some evolution here? And it's such a great question because we're actually doing a study on this right now as we speak. We had done one before. I have an opinion on fluorescence because when I was an executive at De Beers, we had a Canadian mine that had a very high fluorescent content. And some of the, most of the pieces were stunning, but they had high fluorescence. And therefore the industry must discount it. Why? You know, and that's something that I couldn't understand. When you look at, 4% of diamonds in the world will have that sort of fluorescence or even less than that. And medium to strong fluorescence. Fluorescence, I believe, when it does not negatively impact the stone, meaning it doesn't make it cloudy, it doesn't make it oily, it doesn't dilute the luster of the stone, the beauty of the stone, the fire and scintillation of the diamond. I think fluorescence in a lot of areas is actually a positive thing. And I think in most areas should have absolutely no impact on diamonds at all. In fact, in some ways, it should be quite unique because they're so rare. And it's one of those chemical, I'm a biochemist, so it's one of those chemical things that happen that people can never ever be able to replicate for non-natural, at least not at this time. So I think it's actually a really good thing. And what we've seen so far, and when the report comes out, I'm happy to share it with the industry. You'll see that we are seeing a slight improvement in prices of fluorescence and closing the gap, the ones that have no impact, in closing the gap with non-fluorescent diamonds. It's going to take a bit of time. I think this was an unfortunate and negative thing that came up for the industry, and it should never have, because I think fluorescence on 96, 97% of diamonds have absolutely no influence on the look and beauty of the natural product itself. So it's a shame to see it being discounted the way that it is. But we're seeing that gap close.
Thank you very much, Stefan Fischler, for that question. Stefan, very distinguished figure in the diamond industry, so glad to have you with us today. There's a question from Anjum Cave asking, would Uni Diamonds consider doing transactions in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, for example? What are your thoughts on that?
Never say never. It depends what our customers want. But I will say, as long as it is a way that it can be tracked and traced to ensure that it follows AML regulations and guidelines, I don't see an issue why we would not. It is something that we have been considering, but we need to figure out the right way of approaching it to ensure that we are also protecting the sanctity of diamonds and ensuring that they are held to the highest standards. There are unfortunate AML problems and issues that arise when you cannot tell the ultimate beneficiaries of specific products or specific where that money came from. So when we actually figure a way around that, it's something that we would look at for sure. Yes.
Great. Well, our hour is up. It flew by. The whole hour has gone by, and wow. Time does fly. Do you want to take one more question, or shall we just wrap up there?
Happy to.
Okay, let's just take one more, and then we'll wrap up. Question from Mahiar Vezavevala. That's a Zoroastrian name, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mehnaz. Hi.
So
I know her very well.
quite a bit of Persian influence with us today. She says 119 retailers closed in the first quarter of this year in the USA. What does that mean in terms of the future?
Great question, and I think, you know, if you look at the number of retailers that close on a regular basis, irrelevant of the U.S. or other parts of the world, that number has always been there, and it could be because of over leveraging and other challenges and issues. COVID certainly being one of them, and not discounting in any way what COVID has done. But what we've been able to see is the retailers who have stayed, who have weathered the storm, have become stronger because of it. And what we have seen is those companies that have a legacy, and maybe the word legacy is not a good one to use, but a history behind their organization, really have been able to grow and flourish and be successful. So those retail organizations around the world, I encourage you to be able to find your history and your legacy. How are you going to be able to positively show what you can do as an organization? It is no longer acceptable to open up a store and open up a few screens and just put stuff in there and wish for the best. There has to be a strategy, a thought, and a passion behind the products that you're selling. And that comes through you as an owner, through the individuals who are selling your products. And it's easier for me to say than it's actually done. But I've had the pleasure of working with so many retailers around the world in the past 15 years, and seeing how incredible some of them are. Independents, small mom and pop shops that do such a great job because they listen, they care, and they provide really a superior service to their customers. So I encourage the retailers to actually continue to keep that passion going.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mahiar, for joining us today. It's been a fabulous visionary session where you've got out your crystal ball and you've looked into the future and you've given us your thoughts, and we appreciate that. But just to tell everybody, next week we have a webinar with Gubelin Gem Lab, looking at why we need labs, looking at color gemstones. So please do join us for that. You'll see the publicity coming out on Jewellery Outlook over the next week. Thank you very much, Mahiar. We've really enjoyed your time and appreciated your presence with us today. Stay safe, everybody.
Can I just ask one favor?
Yeah.
The questions that I haven't been able to answer, is it possible for me to get those questions so I can reach out to them?
You'll get the full transcript, and you'll be able to respond to all of the questions.
Thank you very much. And same, stay safe, and thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, obviously we weren't able to answer all the questions, but Mahiar will respond to you by email in the coming weeks. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye, everybody.